Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel in this week's edition of Freeze Dry Friday. Today we are taking meal prep to a whole new level. We are going to be turning Swedish meatballs into a convenience meal that will last for years and years to come. And while we're at it, I'm also going to be freeing up some freezer space and preserving nutrients by freeze drying some previously homemade roasted pumpkin puree. Let's take a closer look. I showed how to make this deliciousness this week on my Tasty Tuesday episode, so feel free to check out that video for a complete step-by-step video recipe guide, and I can also post a link for that right up here as well. But these turned out so good. I used 2 pounds of meat, 2 pounds of noodles, and 2 batches of sauce, which was a total of about 8 cups in all. And that yielded enough to fully feed the family a couple times over and get 2 freeze dryer trays filled with this deliciousness. Now I have the original Harvest Right medium freeze dryer trays. So if that gives you any indication, so a single batch should nicely fill 2 of this size trays. The only other thing I did to prep these for the freeze dryer was to cut the meatballs down. I thought that having full-size meatballs in this dish would just take a whole lot longer to rehydrate, so I went ahead and just cut them down by 1/3 or 1/4 depending on how large the meatballs were. I don't have any experience freeze drying meatballs though, so if you do, please let me know. Was this a good thing to do or was it unnecessary? I guess we'll see how it turns out. Now for portioning, I did go ahead and use my tray dividers here, and one of the trays weighed in just before it went into the freezer. See, this is tray D. So tray D weighed 1,896 grams or 190 grams per portion. And then tray E came out lighter. So this one was only 1,327 grams. So I'm actually going to double up these portions in the packaging in the Mylar, just so that it can either be a double meal for 2 people if they're not very hungry, or 1 meal if somebody is very hungry. So that'll make it easy to figure out and write on the bag how much broth or water would be needed to reconstitute or rehydrate this when ready to eat. Now on these 2 trays, I have the pumpkin puree that I showed doing last fall, and I had portioned these out into 2 cup servings into some freezer Ziploc bags, and they've been in the freezer now for coming up on about 6 months. So I thought, you know what, it is a good time to go ahead and just get these shelf stable. Do you see the dark color on here? That is because these were roasted to absolute yumminess. This is a total of 8 cups, and that's also going to make it easy to portion them out when we're getting them into bags. So there's 4 cups per tray, and I'll probably portion them out into 1 or 2 cup measurements, which will be perfect for future use as pumpkin pie, pumpkin soup, pumpkin hummus, pancakes, you name it. And of course, I also use this in my dog food. Now, according to the Harvest Right Freeze Dryer app, the pumpkin puree should have an initial freeze temp of -10, an extra freeze time of 0, and a dry temp of 120 degrees. And luckily that is the same that they show for meat as well as for pasta. So that's going to make all of this really easy. So let's go over to the freeze dryer. We'll customize those settings, although I think the freeze dryer is already set at those, but we'll see. And then we'll get to freeze drying. I'm just going to hit customize. We want -10, that's correct for the initial freeze. Extra freeze time should be 0, so we're going to drop that down to 0. Dry temp should be 120. So I guess this was not set. So now we're good. -10 freeze, 0 extra freeze time, dry temp of 120. And my extra dry time, this is personal preference. I always set it for 15 hours. I seem to have pretty good luck when it is set there. So all I'm going to do now is save. And then we're going to get this started, and then we'll get the food in 15 minutes or so as soon as the freeze dryer is ready. Okay guys, we're back at the freeze dryer, but the freeze dryer is actually done. I thought I had filmed putting it in, but I also had problems as I was putting it in, so things got a little glitchy. I've not had a problem with my freeze dryer. I'm coming up on 3 years this month or in a couple weeks. 3 years of having the freeze dryer, and I've never had an issue with it, but this time for this load, it sounded like maybe it was having a compressor issue. When I started the freeze dryer, it sounded muted, like not as noisy as it normally gets. And then it completely made no noise, even though the clock kept going and it did say to go ahead and load the food after 15 minutes. And by that time, things sounded okay again, but it was pretty glitchy. So I'm wondering if there might be a compressor issue. Can you hear that kind of brownout that it's doing? It's been doing that the entire cycle, so I'm gonna have to call Harvest Right or somebody and try to figure out what this is. If you've experienced this, if you could let me know what your experience was in the comments below, and if you have a fix for it or some troubleshooting advice, I would very much appreciate that. But it is done, or it should be done. It's been going for 52 hours, and the amount of ice in here is blowing my mind. I did not expect this much ice. Let's take a look. First, I just need to open the drain valve. And then we can get this door open. There is like at least a solid inch of ice all the way around this drum. It is a lot of ice, way more than I expected from Swedish Meatballs and some pumpkin puree. Let's see how the trays look. Here is one tray of pumpkin. It feels incredibly light, so I think that that is going to be just fine. Second tray of pumpkin, also very light, very dry. I've done pumpkin a lot, so I know that that's going to be fine. Here's tray E. Those came out looking nice. They actually smell pretty good. And here's our other tray. This one's fuller. So I think these are the individual servings, and the other ones I'm gonna double up on. But those came out looking great. Even those meatballs look great. So we'll get those weighed and packaged up, and then we'll get some rehydrated. We're gonna start with the Swedish Meatballs. So this is tray E, and this is tray D. Let's see what we're weighing in at. Tray E is 1268, so surprisingly, that did not lose a whole lot. We started at 1327. And then tray D here is weighing in at 1380. This lost definitely more water weight. So on tray D, we have 10 servings, or about 52 grams per serving, but let's test that. So I have a 1 gallon Mylar bag here. And we're gonna weigh the bag, make sure we're tarred at 0. And let's put 1 serving in. These should just lift right out and stay in their mold shape, which is nice. I will be breaking one open just to verify that they feel dry. So that is coming in at 68 grams. So I'll weigh 68 grams, and we'll get the next one in. And this one is weighing in at 80 grams, so a little more. This did give me a lot of individual meals for the future, so 15 of them. That's 2 weeks worth of dinners or lunches, which is awesome. 1 freeze dryer run, only 2 trays, and 2 weeks worth of meals. This is 75 grams. These dividers do work really nicely though. I mean, they really do keep your food well portioned. This one's in at 70. require a little algebra though. 70. $79. $79. So we were pretty close. Getting a lot of 79s and 80, but there were some that were just a little smaller. $69. $61. So some are definitely smaller. This one feels even lighter. 60. Those are all the single servings. And then we have this one. This one I'm going to do as double servings. We lost a meatball. Just in case there's two people who want to eat it, or if somebody's really hungry. So we've got 109 on this bag. And 105 on this one. $95 on this one. $90 on this one. I'm going to do just the one in here because I'll reconstitute or rehydrate the one that's left. So this is 50. And we'll see how much this one weighs. $41 grams. Tray D, the initial food weight was 1,896 grams, and the tray itself weighed 677 grams with the silicone mat and with the tray dividers in them. So we had a total of 1,219 grams of food weight. And after freeze drying and adding everything up from tray D, we had 703 grams total. So that means that tray D lost 516 grams, which we already calculated. So we should be able to add like 51 grams of liquid, whether that's water or broth, back in to get that fully hydrated. So we'll see about that. And tray E weighed 1,327 grams before going into the freezer or the freeze dryer. That included the weight of the tray, the silicone mat, and the tray dividers, 677 grams. So that means the food on the tray weighed 650 grams. And when you total up the grams on the bags, it's 591 grams. So that means it only lost 59 grams of water, which is suspect, but okay, we'll go with it. We're gonna be rehydrating one from that batch anyway, or that tray anyway. So that would be about 10 grams of water to rehydrate, which seems really low to me, but we're gonna give it a try and we'll see if it works. I like my just visual method. It has not let me down, but we're just gonna go forward on this. So that means for tray D, we need to add 51 grams of water. Ish, right? Because these are not all the same size. All right, before I write on the bags from tray E, we're gonna test out that math. So I'll write on those after. So all of these are the Swedish meatballs, and we're gonna get an oxygen absorber into each and get them heat sealed. Then we'll go ahead and rehydrate this with, what, 10 grams of water, we'll see. And then we'll get our pumpkin puree packaged up as well. This is a whole lot of food, a whole lot of servings. We're gonna get this done just as quickly as we can. I don't know if that's enough or too much, but we're going for it. Get a couple quick heat seals on here. I've got my kettle on so we can get that rehydrated. And as usual, I'm putting this, these bags on the heat plate with the tear notches towards me. So I'm sealing above the zipper and above the tear notches. Looks like I estimated that pretty close on the oxygen absorbers. I think I'm just gonna need to pull one more out of the jar. And last one for the make-ahead meals. Now we can get some pasta and meatballs rehydrated. I'm just gonna tar this whole thing to 0 on grams, and we're gonna add 10 grams of water and we'll see what that gets us. I don't think that's going to be right though. And this is hot water, although it's not actually boiling. That was nothing. That was like no water whatsoever. And definitely wasn't even enough to get even half of the noodles hydrated. So what am I doing wrong, you guys, on the weigh method? Because I don't like it. I'm just going for my eyeball process here. Add just a little bit more, and then I'm going to let this sit while we package up the pumpkin puree. This is smelling really good though. This looks really good. We might need more water than that, but we'll see. Just let that hang out for a bit. And I know that there are 4 cups of puree in each one of these trays, so I'm just going to divide that in half, and that'll be 2 cups per, which I think is a good size. Really easy to use for baking and for meals as well. just break that down into some pieces. I'm not gonna worry about getting it powdered down. If I'm using it in a baked good, in a recipe, then just adding the water to it is going to get it back into a mashed consistency. And I'll just call these bags 2 cups pumpkin per. Maybe I'll do 2 bags that only have 1 in it as well. That looks good. So we'll get that closed up. I really do like having freeze-dried pumpkin on hand. It just comes in so handy. All right, double seal. Bag 1. And it's just so light. Leave a little bit of that out as well. The dogs have been getting a lot of pumpkin in their dog food this week, and they love it. But we'll get some put away for future. All of this, since it's going into Mylar, is future food, which makes me happy, gives me peace of mind. I'm gonna do 2 bags with 1 cup of pumpkin. All right, we have 2 ready. And 1 more. And when these are fully rehydrated, they should be the same volume, so 2 cups or 1 cup. So I'm not worried about weighing these in that manner. Two 1 cups, 3 2 cups, a whole lot of beautiful roasted pumpkin puree for future use. It is still hard. That was not nearly enough water at all. So I'm going to add some more. And I'm going to go ahead and get all of my bags labeled while we let this sit for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll give that a try. All right, let's take a look here. This actually does look and feel pretty soft. I think there's 1 noodle blend here, a couple noodles stuck together that doesn't look like it has softened up completely, but everything else seems tender. So we will go ahead and give this a try. Let's see if it is as good as when I first made it. And we'll see how those meatballs did too, but I'll start with the pasta. So just a bite of pasta. Texture's really good. The flavor, wow. The flavor is there. It lost nothing in terms of flavor at all. Super good. Let's try a little meatball. Remember, I cut these down into quarters. This is really good. This is really, really good. And it's gonna be dinner tonight. That worked out beautifully, you guys. This is like your own mountain house type meal that you can make in your own kitchen. Now, I definitely used sour cream in here. There's definitely fat in the meat, and there's definitely fat in the cream. So maybe not quite 25 or 30 years worth. This is so good. This is so, so good. This is definitely worth doing. And I'm sure, I would guess you would get at least 15 to 20 years out of this. This is so good. A DIY MRE for sure. And it is so tasty. I could have even thrown some peas in here, and then it would have been a balanced meal. I'm eating all of it because it is 7 o'clock and I haven't had dinner yet. All of it. That sauce is fantastic. Now, I've got this little bit of pumpkin here. I just want to see what it tastes like this. That's phenomenal. That is really good. It's got the consistency of a graham cracker and the flavor of a pumpkin. Wow. Yeah, like a graham cracker. These are like graham cracker treats except with roasted pumpkin. Yeah, that's really good. I probably couldn't eat a ton of it, but it is very flavorful and very good. It has a really good texture too, just like a graham cracker. So we'll see what Harvest Right has to say about my freeze dryer and that trouble. It sounds like, I'm not mechanically inclined at all, but it sounds like a compressor issue to me, but I don't know anything. And then during the whole drying cycle, it kept having these recurrent, like pretty regular intervals of like a brownout. I mean, it wasn't going off. It was just the noise level was going, then would go back up again. So it's definitely struggling in some way or another. So we'll see if I have a Freeze Dry Friday video for next week. If I don't, then maybe what I'll do is we'll just break into some stuff that I have done over the last 3 years and see how it's holding up in storage. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Freeze Dry Friday, where we freeze dried stacks and stacks and stacks of Swedish meatballs and pumpkin puree. That is going to go up to my pantry to be enjoyed at some point in the future. My name is Kelly, you're at A Better Choice Homestead, and I do hope you'll come back and visit again soon.